Hey guys, Joseph here. Today I am reacting to a video by one of my favorite YouTubers, Creepypasta Jr. Make sure to check them out. And this video is called People Have Been Disappearing in My Town. So let's start this bad boy in 3, 2, 1, boom.
The first time it happened, I was only a child in elementary school. I was sitting in class one day while our teacher scribbled on the blackboard
elementary
behind
school,
her.
so scary.
I glanced over and saw that one of the desks was empty.
Okay.
I quickly realized who it belonged to. It belonged to a kid named Alex. He was an average kid.
Maybe
Not
he
very remarkable
then
in any
he
way,
was an
but was always
average kid.
kind to anyone who interacted with him. While I stared at the vacant desk,
Maybe he's
I got
absent.
sick that day. My teacher snapped a ruler on her desk and called my name. I broke out of my daze and stared at her while the rest of the class laughed. The day finished normally and I went home. The next day at school, while the class slowly started to trickle in, I found myself looking for Alex to walk through that door.
Okay.
I'm not sure why I was so invested in this kid's life, but nonetheless, I watched.
He was probably absent.
He never showed. Once school had started, the teacher began to take
Oh,
roll
no.
call, and after a few minutes, she was finished.
He's dead.
She never once
He's
mentioned
dead.
Alex's name. When I
That's
realized this,
interesting.
I quickly wondered if he had suddenly transferred schools and I just hadn't been paying attention.
Probably.
During recess, I asked one of my classmates who sat in the desk adjacent to Alex's if they knew what happened to him. When I asked
Let
them,
me guess, they were like,
they gave
who's
me a
Alex?
very confused look and replied with only 2 words. Who's Alex?
I knew it.
I thought I was going crazy. I could picture Alex's face clearly in my mind. There was no way someone could just vanish like that.
It's
At
possible.
school that day, I stopped the teacher and asked her where Alex went to. And she didn't know who I was talking about.
Who's
I then
Alex?
gestured to the empty desk in the classroom. She just shook her head and said that desk had been vacant all year.
Are you
The look
sure
of
about
utter
that?
confusion across my face sent off red flags to my teacher, and she tried her best to comfort me. She said that maybe it was a kid in a different class, and she asked me if I knew his last name. Unfortunately, for the life of me, I couldn't remember his last name, so I simply shook my head. She
Oof.
consoled me and told me that I might have just gotten
There's some
confused.
dust on my
Even
screen.
though I was sure I wasn't. There wasn't much else I could do, so I just nodded politely and laughed. The second time it happened was when I was in high school. Everybody knew about Jimmy Williams.
Let me
He was
guess,
the
he
pinnacle
went
of high school royalty.
like that.
He was the captain of the baseball
Probably.
team, was dating the most popular girl in school, and surprisingly, was quite smart.
He went
He had
missing.
nearly perfect grades in every one of his classes. I used to jokingly wonder if he had sold his soul for greatness. I found out sometime after
That's kinda funny.
that his father was extremely strict and made sure he focused just as much on his grades as he did on his sports. Contrary to the stereotype, however, Jimmy was a very kind person.
Oh.
Whenever he'd see someone getting picked on or bullied, he'd challenge the bully to do it to him. They'd sheepishly back down and storm off, while Jimmy would just chat with the victim.
Wuss.
Jimmy and I weren't particularly friends, but him and I had lockers right next to each other. He'd always give me a passing hey when he'd see me, and I'd return the gesture. One
What's
day,
up?
I walked into school, making my way towards my locker, when I noticed someone
Went missing.
rifling through Jimmy's locker. I walked up to this person and asked him what he was doing. The guy just glared at me and told me none of my business. I asked him why he was going through Jimmy's locker, and he just looked at me once again before asking,
Who's Jimmy?
"Who's Jimmy?"
I knew it.
When I heard him say that, I felt a wave of familiar confusion pass through me. I replied, "Jimmy Williams, captain of the baseball team." The guy just shut the locker and replied with, "Never heard of him," before walking off. Luckily, I had a friend who was on the baseball team. After school, I went over to the Diamond and asked him if he knew where Jimmy
Diamond.
was.
Ooh.
My friend just
Sounds
gave me
fun.
a blank look
Get
and
some.
said he didn't know any Jimmy.
Ooh.
I was starting to feel like I had lost my mind.
Maybe
Just
you
then
are.
Sarah Clark, Jimmy's girlfriend, was
Maybe
walking
you're
by.
messed.
I stopped
Maybe
her,
you're
asking her if
Coco.
she had seen
Maybe
Jimmy.
you're Loco in the Coco.
She appeared confused and shocked by my sudden interaction and quickly walked away. After that, I ran to the school's office and asked the receptionist what classes Jimmy had. She asked me why I wanted to know, and I told her that he and I had a project together. After typing away on her keyboard for a few minutes, she said there were no records of a Jimmy Williams attending the school. Before she could ask my name,
Oh, that's
I briskly
interesting.
thanked her and left the office. After I got home, I spent
Maybe you are
the
going
weekend
crazy.
searching for any sign of Jimmy on the internet, but there wasn't any.
Oh.
It was as if he had been completely erased from existence.
That's weird.
But what was odd about
Thanos.
Jimmy's
It's
disappearance
Thanos.
was why I was the
It's
only one that knew about
Thanos.
it. Everyone else had no clue who he was or why I was even asking about him. The years continued, and despite my mental instability, I tried my best not to think about the strange occurrences. I
Okay.
graduated and had gotten a job as a cashier at my local grocery store. I was
Okay.
relaxing on my day off when I had received a very irate phone call from my boss asking why I wasn't at work. Confused, I told him that it was my day off, that today was Mark's shift at work. He simply brushed off my excuse and told me to come into work immediately. I quickly got ready and drove to work. When I got there, my boss laid into me for being lazy and trying to come up with a lame-ass excuse. In a fit of rage, I stomped over to the clipboard in the break room, which had our schedule on it, and pointed angrily to today's date. My boss just glared at me for a moment. I could feel uncertainty well within me as I realized what was happening. I nervously turned to the schedule on the wall and saw my name on today's date. Not only that, Mark wasn't on the list. Neither was Katie or Ed. All three of them, whom I've worked with for months, weren't on the schedule anymore. I could feel my pulse quicken and beads of sweat begin to form on my forehead.
Wow.
My boss,
It's
on
Thanos.
seeing this, changed his tone to a more sympathetic one and sent me home for the day. Not long after
Thanos.
that day, I started
It's
going
Thanos,
to therapy.
everyone.
My therapist, albeit kind, didn't seem to grasp what I was telling her. She thought I was fabricating all of these people in my past.
It's
She
Thanos.
mentioned the term imaginary friends on more than one occasion. When we weren't talking specifically about that problem, however, she was quite understanding and had been helping me get through the more stressful parts of my life. It's been close to 4 years since the last time I
4
had an
years.
incident.
Holy crap.
I was utterly convinced that therapy had helped me banish all those negative fabrications from my mind.
Maybe.
My work life had improved. I had gotten a new job as an accountant for a company. I
Okay.
had become much more social. I had
Okay.
even gotten myself a girlfriend.
Ah,
Yes.
interesting.
Everything in my life seemed to be
Girlfriend.
progressing normally. Then, a month ago, as I stepped outside to head to work, I froze dead in my tracks. I could barely believe my eyes. Half of the houses on the other side of the street were completely gone.
Poof.
Once a neatly aligned row of houses was now littered with vacant lots.
It's definitely
I was
Thanos.
rooted in place on my porch staring out at the neighborhood.
Definitely.
When suddenly, a hand rested upon my shoulder and asked me if I was all right. It was Cassie. I swallowed my nerves and nodded. I asked her if those lots across the street had always been there, to which she nodded somberly. She had been aware of my condition ever since we started dating, and while she was very understanding, she was unsure of what to do. She asked me if I'd like to stay home, but I declined. I went to work, and when I started my shift, I noticed that quite a number of cubicles were empty. I didn't say anything. I quietly finished my work and drove home.
Okay.
That brings me to yesterday.
What happened yesterday?
When I woke up, I rested my hand on the other side of my bed.
Okay.
It was empty.
Oh.
A fear that I had long since repressed overwhelmed me. I stood up from my bed and called out to Cassie.
Cassie!
I ran into the room calling her name. With
Cassie,
each shout, I felt
Cassie.
more and more hopeless. When suddenly, I heard a voice asking me what was wrong from behind me. I turned and saw Cassie standing there confused. I ran to her and gave her a long embrace. I had never been happier to see someone in my entire life. Immediately, I packed a few bags and told her not to leave my sight. Within a half hour, we unloaded the car and drove out of that town. I don't know if I simply lost my mind, or if the people I
weird.
remember truly just vanished into thin air.
Yeah, that would be weird
But
if
as we
that
drove out of
happened.
the town, I couldn't help but stare fearfully at all the vast empty land that now took up the entire northern half of the town. If any of you live in a small town, and you start to notice people disappearing left and right,
Okay.
run. Get in your car and run as far away from that town as possible
Will do.
before you end up losing someone close to you.
Okay. Oh, that was. People have been disappearing in my town. Creepypasta by Creepypasta Jr. Make sure to check out his channel. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys on the next one.